Hey folks, today I'm going to be showing you how to paint up this Owlbear. This is the new Reaper Bones Black Owlbear miniature, so stay tuned. Alright, so first of all, I went ahead and base coated it in Mourning Brown. This was just a nice warm brown that I thought would look really good for the miniature. Now, you can see it's a pretty detailed sculpt, and one thing that I like is that it's got these tabs that attach it to its base, so I was actually able to take it off the base and paint bits of it that you wouldn't be able to reach if it was attached to the base, and then stick it back on. So these are a couple of reference photos I pulled, especially painting animals or stuff that actually kind of occur in nature. I like to have reference images. Alright, so I'm going to use Skrag Brown to do a layer over the wings, and I'm also going to do kind of these fur feather bits here, just to kind of give it a little bit more texture. Looking at those reference photos, birds aren't just one solid color. There is modeling there, so this kind of helped add that. So it's not a huge difference, but it's starting to show a little bit. Now I'm going to use Dryad Bark, and I'm going to go through and paint a bunch of the feathers specifically, and then I'm also going to go through and do the modeling effect again. You can kind of see I'm trying to be careful and make sure I'm not getting too much paint, that I'm not filling in those grooves on the feathers too much, and really following the lines of the feathers. And with here, I just kind of found bits that I didn't paint in the Skrag Brown and painted those. Just kind of random bits. And every now and then I did pull the mini away and look at it kind of from arm's length. I found that this kind of helps me get a little bit more perspective. So there you can see that's really starting to make a difference. And with the feathers, I didn't pull it all the way up because a lot of feathers, the tips are a different color. So now I'm going to go through with the Agrax Earthshade and do a wash over the whole thing. One thing I'll note is this paintbrush that I'm using is just a really inexpensive watercolor paintbrush. I found that for just doing the inks and stuff like that works really well. And here you can see me sticking it back on the base so that I can hold the base while I paint the tops of the wings and the head. All of that stuff. So that's a really cool feature, and I kind of hope that the rest of the Bones line have this feature of how it attaches the base. There you go. Starting to really kind of pull out some of the details with the feathers, stuff like that, deep in the shadows. Now I'm going to go through with Tallarn Sand, and I'm going to get these more modeling around the chest, but I'm also going to use this to do some of these feathers right around the neck. And I'm just kind of essentially doing an edge highlight here, where I'm just getting the very tips of it, kind of differentiating them a little bit more from everything else. Just continuing with this modeling effect and looking at it, trying to see where do I think I should add more. I don't want to do too much on this, but as you hold it out at arm's length, you can kind of get a good sense of okay, where does it look like there are spots that it's missing this effect, or okay, have I gone a little bit too much? And that's okay. If you do, just go back over in your previous colors. Alright, so you can see I also went through and did some of the ridges along the face, and that's really bringing those features out. Now I'm going to go through with Skrag Brown again, and I'm going to do more of that modeling, kind of hitting some of the spots that I previously hit. I'm doing a little bit more of the feathers around the neck here, just after going over it with the Agrax Earthshade, it tends to muddy down some of it, so sometimes I like to go back through with these layers to really make them pop Also, I just want to do a little bit more on the head after going through, so you can see that there. I'm also going to take this down and take this onto the wings to add a little bit more contrast between the bottoms of the wings and the edges or the tips of the wings. So yeah, you can see I'm doing more of that modeling here, and again, it's the looking, seeing where do I think I need to add it, and this I did a lot more sparingly. So you can see that modeling definitely is making it look pretty interesting. Now I'm going through and doing those feathers, and I'm being very careful using a pretty fine brush. I'm trying to follow the direction of the sculpt on these feathers. So kind of painting at an angle, hitting those high points, letting the shadows as much as possible stay, keep the Skrag Brown out of the shadows so that you really get that dimension. Alright, there you have it. You can really see that made those feathers pop quite a bit. I really like the way the wings looking. Now I'm going to take Screaming Skull and use that to do some of the interior feathers. And this I'm taking a real fine brush and again following the direction of the feathers and just essentially trying to just paint, doing some edge highlighting to really bring out the contrast there. So it takes quite a bit of time, but it really pays off with those feathers. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of them, but first I'm going to show you, I'm taking this also on around the face and just really bringing out, and this is, I'm using kind of the edge of the tip of the brush so that it's doing that edge highlighting. I found using the edge of your brush actually gets you a little bit cleaner when you're just trying to go in and get those very top bits of ridges. So that's really bringing out those eye feathers around the eyes and stuff like that. Just doing the very, very tips to really add that contrast. Because that's what you're going to notice on the table. It might look a little bit extreme up close, but remember that when it's on your table, it's probably going to be a couple feet away from you. Sitting on the table, at least a foot, so that contrast is going to make it stand out. Now I'm taking the Cadian Fleshtone. I'm going to do the hands on this. Since it is an Owlbear, I figured the bear more hand bits would look a little bit better as a little bit more of a fleshy color. And this I'm just using as a highlight, so I'm not taking it all the way down. I'm letting those creases stay the Mourning Brown, and just going through and getting all of the very, very top bits of the hand to kind of make that stand out a little bit more. So there you can see that. Definitely more hand-like. Now I'm going to take the Averland Sunset and paint the eyeballs. So to do this, I get a really nice tip to the brush, load it up with paint, and then really get that tip right into that corner. And I'll move the mini around to kind of flip it to get the tip into the other corner of the eye. And I did leave a little bit of gap here, so I didn't paint all the way down, so that they're kind of, it creates a bit of an eyelid. So I'm taking the Agrax Earthshade and just painting that back over the hands. I just decided they were a little bit too pinky, and just taking this helped bring it back down, blend it in a little bit more with the tones of the rest of the mini. You can do several layers of this to bring it down to the color that you want. I was able to do it in just 2 layers, and that also helped accentuate the folds in the hand as well. So now I'm going to go through with Abadon Black and paint the beak of the Owlbear. I did end up going back through and I did a very light edge highlighting with a slightly, with just a gray. Unfortunately, my camera cut out before I filmed that. So yeah, you see I got both the top and the bottom beak. Then I went back through and did the talons or claws as well. So there you have it. You can see that edge highlight with the gray. Now I'm going to paint the eyeballs, and unfortunately here again my camera cut out before I painted the entire pupil of it, but just kind of very slowly working with a super fine brush and doing a small pupil. Alright, so there you have it. There is the final Owlbear. I'm really happy with this. I like how it turned out. It's a little different than I originally was thinking when I picked out the reference photos, but that's nice. You know, things change as you are painting them. So I hope you've enjoyed this painting video. I want to give a special thanks to our patrons, especially Sean, Joan, Arby, Lainey, and Bryce. If you're interested in becoming a patron, helping us to purchase paint so that we can paint more miniatures, you can head over to patreon.com/rollforinitiative. If you've got any questions I didn't cover in the video, pop them down in the comments below and I'll answer them as soon as I can. All right, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye!